Hello everyone, welcome to another tutorial, and today we're going to be working on some daffodils, and they are the flower of the month for March. So I figured let's just get started with a little pen and watercolor wash for these really cute illustrative style daffodils. So let's get going. What we're going to do first is I've already sketched out lightly on here. This is a Strathford cards, pre-cut card watercolor paper, so you can use whatever you want, and I'm using a Micron 0.05, my favorite, and we're going to just start putting in the design for it, or putting in the actual daffodils. So what I want to do is start with the cones. Well, actually, what you would be better to put the stems in first. So you kind of mark out the area where you want your stem, and to remember that a daffodil has a slightly nodding head to it, so we're just going to do a straight down line right here, and that does kind of help give you this placement. And what this is going to be when we're all done is a watercolor card, and we're going to leave this space open so that way if you want to write happy birthday or anything, a happy spring, whatever you want to write over here, it'll be open for that. So okay, so we got our stem in place. And then what you can do ahead of time is just figure out where you want your trumpet of the daffodil. And I have it right here, and I'm going to just give it a roughly kind of outline to it, okay? Just like that. And then you want to also figure out the perspective of where you're going to have the flower, and then you can put a line that kind of with your pencil, outline that, and then you can kind of have an idea of where you want the petal placement. So to finish the cone out, or the funnel, the trumpet, we'll get that word right, what we're going to do is we're going to make it look like kind of, I don't know, like a cupcake maybe, a bit of a cupcake because of this angle. And there, we just kind of have that there, and then we're going to do our petals. They're slightly tapered at the top, and so we'll just do one here, and they also overlap every other petal, which I think is kind of cool. It's kind of pretty, and yep. And then they have 6 petals, but because of the perspective of this one, we're just going to make 5 petals here. And then our other little one, we're going to make this one. It has a shorter trumpet, which is that center part of the flower, and then we're just going to put our stem in place, and then going to put this short, this almost looks like a cupcake or a pie or something kind of shape, and we're going to again put a little ruffly top to it, and then that'll be done for that. And get our petals, I'm going to work on those, get those in, and let me know if you I can actually, I think the next tutorial I'll probably go over the shapes of these, how to actually draw them, so you have like a point of reference, because sometimes it's easy to say, oh, just do this and do that, but I'll work on that for the next one. Okay, and then I'm going to just add in some leaves to the daffodils, and they just have these straight on kind of, they're not very interesting leaves that are part of them. And then I'm just going to add maybe one more in. I may just add some in when I watercolor, and then I'll outline them again in ink when I'm all finished. But I wanted to get the basic shapes in, and you don't have to actually put the Micron on first. I'm doing it because so you can see it easier for the tutorial, but you could just do this, you could just put the pencil part in, and then you could paint and then put the Micron in. So it's whatever you like to do. So what I'm going to do for the actual wash, or the watercolor for it, is I'm going to be using just some simple colors. Whatever palette you have, if you have a cheap one, use that. That's totally fine. But I'm just going to be mixing up some yellows. I'm going to move my water over here. And I'm really just going to be mostly working with yellows and oranges. So the yellow I have here is a cadmium yellow, or it's either a cadmium or a lemon yellow, I'm not sure, but your brightest yellow you can use. And then I have some red that I mixed in with the yellow over here for some orange. So I'm just going to reactivate these. As you can, I don't really clean up my palette in between projects because, you know, I can use this. I can use the paint over and over again. So anyway, I've got my colors mixed up, and then Add a little bit more yellow over here. I really want to get it nice and watery because I'm just going to be using a wash for the petals. And that's probably one of my biggest struggles learning watercolor, is to keep it super light when you start, because I'm an acrylic artist and I want to start darker. But it's the opposite with watercolor. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over each of the petals, and I'm just going to do this really like quick stroke wash with it, and then come back up and leave the color up at the top. It's just kind of, you know, pull, and then I'm going to pull a little bit out. It's kind of just like coloring, really. And this is a super simplified version of how to use watercolors in this kind of application, because you know, if you're trying to make it, you're learning, and it is, I think there's quite a bit of a learning curve with watercolors. So I think this is just kind of a fun way to try, and you can use them right away, and you can actually use them for something. Like you can actually give this as a gift for someone, like I said, with a card. And I'm going outside the line. It's just a little, clean that up with some fresh water. I'm not too concerned about it, but there we go. And yeah, finish this up. And the nice thing is you can reactivate the paint when you're done. So if it's too dark or whatever, you can always pull some of that color out. Pull a little bit of that out, just to add a little texture. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to just add some pure pigment of the cadmium yellow, or whatever yellow you're using, just around the base, and hopefully this will spread out. I haven't used this watercolor paper as much. It's not super great, and that's another reason I'm challenging myself using, I have nice paper, but I've been kind of challenging myself using this cheaper paper just to see what I can do with it, because then, you know, I can show you some of the things that can be done, and then you could just get started right away. You don't have to invest, because actually the other watercolor paper is pretty expensive, I won't lie. It's not cheap at all. So all right, I'm just going in, just kind of giving some highlights on the inside of that petal. Let's clean this up a little bit. I didn't quite do what I wanted. It didn't bleed as well as I wanted it to, so I'm just going to help it along. There you go. And, you know, it's pretty simple with that. And I'm going to let that part dry. And while that's drying, instead of me going in with the orange, I'm going to have orange centers for these leaves. I'm going to make up some more green. Now I'm just using a green right out of my palette. I have the Windsor Newton Cotman colors, so you can, again, you can use cheaper ones. They're just gonna, the pigment just will look different, that's all. And then I'm just mixing up a nice green, regular green. You can use whatever you want. I'm just spring green. And then I'm gonna keep my hand stationary on without moving it. I'm gonna take my brush on the bottom and just pull that color all the way to the top using the tip of the brush, trying to stay in those lines. I'm doing fairly well staying in the lines, not as great as I'd like to, but you can always take your time, you know, for your project when you work on yours. And then just kind of going along again, keeping my hand as stationary as possible. And again, if you don't, you know, put the Micron down first, you don't have to be as precise as this. You can paint in your, as a matter of fact, I'll paint in a couple leaves here. Here we'll put in a leaf here, which I actually had an outline for it. And then let's put a couple more in the background. I'm going to have them kind of overlap. Just kind of fill it in, because usually with a daffodil there's tons and tons of these leaves that come out, and of course you have a few flowers. So we're just going to put some in the background. It's kind of a fun little addition. Fills up that corner, which I think is always nice. And then it's up to you if you want to even ink them. You don't necessarily have to. I think that could even be nice, just leaving them like this in the background. So yeah, that's it. We can work on that a little bit later, but I'll take that green out. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the centers done really fast here. And we're going to take orange, and I'm just going to kind of dot it in on the bottom part of the trumpet, and then along here, and then we'll go in here, just give it a nice little quick wash. Actually, I don't want to have it in the center right there. I'm going to take that out. I want to, there we go. I want to add a little green in the center, and I'm going to add a little blue to my green over here. A little blue-green, like a little turquoisey kind of color. And I'm going to just kind of put that in the center a little bit. See how that spreads? It actually looks nice with that spread. I'm going to do the same thing here. Let's just add a little there, just to give us a hint of the center. And I'm also going to put it at the base of the trumpet. Too much here. Okay, there we go. Something like that, because there's a hint of green. And so you're going to want to just kind of put that at the very base, kind of messing with the, there we go. And then again, take some out. I feel like I'm putting it on, taking it out, put it on, but you get an idea. But it kind of gives it, I don't know, it's a nice little color, and it makes it a little bit more realistic and interesting. So I'm going to go back with a little bit more of the orange now, and then just to balance out those colors. Okay, and then actually I just want a little bit more pigment, because I feel like I get a lot of water but not a lot of color on there. Okay. There we go. Now I feel like I'm getting that color. That's the color I'm wanting. Okay, so let me see what else we can do. We want to just kind of clean up, I guess, the actual petals a little bit, and then we're getting kind of close to being done, but I'm going to do a little bit of a technique at the end, and then we'll clean up with the details. So we're just going to add a few more rounds of color, and then I will come back, and then we will finish working on the rest of this card. Okay, we're back, and I added a few more details, a few more layers. I was waiting for that to dry. So I just wanted to show you with taking some more of that yellow, green, it's actually a greeny yellow. I'm going to just kind of add a few lines coming down, because if you notice in the petals of a real daffodil, they'll have a really, really faint lines. And so you don't have to do this. You could leave it the way you had it, but I don't know. I like the little details, so I'm going to add a few more of those, and then we'll add some of the Micron ones as well. And then I'm going to, if you notice, I added the little stamens in the middle, which I forgot to do earlier. So I'm going to add a little bit more of the dark green and that greenish blue in the center. And then I'm going to darken the rim of the trumpet even a little bit more. I'm going to add just some more, just red, orangey red, I guess. I'll add a little of this yellow to it. And then I'm going to just go in along the edges here and then just dot on the color, because I really want that to stick out. I want that contrast to be really, really high with that orange. Yeah, so, all right. And then I'm just going to go in and do a few details with the stems. I'm going to take a darker bluey green kind of color and go in and just kind of do some shadow, give some shadow lines along on the leaves and the stem. Again, you don't have to do this, but I like to do it. I think it looks nice. And then I'm just kind of using a bluish, like I said, bluish green. And then you can just add a few details, a few lines to that, the leaves and the stem. And then here I'm just going to get really dark. I like it dark at the bottom. Just kind of makes it look interesting to me, at least. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, you can add more details. I'm going to add a few little micron details, and then I'm going to show you the background, what we're going to do. And I'm trying to make this fast, but we'll do that next. But I'm going to add a few little, with a 0.03, I'm just going to put a few little lines. Of course, you want to make sure this is pretty dry when you go to do this. I think this just kind of lifts it up even more as a little illustration. I think that's really, really fun. And then I can also do it along here if you want. Just a few little lines along the trumpet. And then you can also add a few lines going up on the leaf shape, which is fun. And some dots, some broken lines, just to kind of give it some interest. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just do what you want when it comes to these little details. Now I'm going to just do a background of this in a light turquoise wash, and I'm only going to do it in a section of the card. So we're going to do that next. Okay, so I mixed up some turquoise. You can just use a turquoise right out of your palette, or you can mix blue and green, whatever is easier for you. And then right along that tape line, I'm going to just fill in some loose color. And actually, I want it to be fairly dark along the edge right here. It's up to you what you like. But I really like that contrast. I'm just going to blend that out a bit along here. And again, go along the line. I just took some pure pigment when I went along the line here. And I'm just going to kind of go down here just a little bit. And just kind of wing it, I guess. Fill it in like you're coloring. Just adds a really nice, I like the border and I like the effect that it has, especially when you take off the tape. It's going to look really neat. So we're just going to do that, and then we will do our next step. What I did was I just went in and added a little bit of I took some, stronger pigment of the turquoise, and I just randomly dotted it here and there along the top just for some texture, just for some play. I don't know. I just think it's like really fun. One of the fun things that you can get with watercolor is just this random texture, and it just makes it, I think, a more interesting composition to look at. So, and then one other thing I'll do over here is I think I will darken this one corner just to balance it out for me. And then I'll just grab more of that green, maybe a little green blue, and then just go in and just pull some color up, flicking my brush. But I think I will go in with some really strong pigment. Again, pulling that up along the sides here. There. I really want there to be a contrast when you pull the card, or pull the tape up, so you can see that difference. So that's pretty much it. Now, all you have to do is really let it dry, but I'm going to go ahead and take the tape off just to see what happens. And it will dry lighter, so I will show you what it looks like lighter at the very end of the video. So let's do the unveiling of this, which is always the most fun, I think, and see how it turned out. I love a border on watercolors. And if you get, anything underneath that tape, you can just go back in and with some white gouache or white acrylic, or I don't know, different things you can just do. Sometimes white gel pen I think works. And there we go. I think that turned out really, really cute. And you can put, of course, your sentiment over here somewhere, thinking of you, whatever it is that you want to write. I like to leave mine undone until I'm ready to use it for whatever. And then that way I have something that's ready for gift giving. So that's it, everyone. Let me show you another one that I did as well that you saw in the beginning. I just did some random ones here. I'm going to move this because this is still wet. And yeah, I thought these were kind of cute too. These were my practice ones with the pen and ink and watercolor. And I just put it in my sketchbook. So, and I actually did a technique where I just flicked with a toothbrush the extra pigment of the watercolor turquoise on these. So anyway, really cute ideas, great for your bullet journal and all kinds of other things. So I hope you like this. If you did, then please think about subscribing. I would love to do really easy beginner type tutorials for you. And yeah, please hit like and also a comment. Appreciate your comments. So, all right, till we see you again, just remember that you are creative and amazing. We'll see you later. Bye now.